Welcome to the U3 Media Podcast, where our mission is to unite the world through coffee. I'm Christy Ross, and joining us today is Firaol Ahmed, founder and owner of Moii Coffee. Welcome, Firaol. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Christy. Thanks a lot for having me.
Absolutely. So I'm going to do a quick intro because I want to sort of set the stage for you. So you're from Ethiopia.
Yep.
Which is one of the legendary origins of coffee. You launched Moii Coffee Company about a year ago out of a dorm room at St. Louis University. And you've been added to the Business Journal's Under 25 list. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And so there's so much more, but let's do this. Let's start out with having you give us a little background on your family and a little bit about your upbringing.
Yeah, definitely. I was born and raised in Ethiopia, and my mom left Ethiopia when I was very young and to find a better life, and then she went to refugee camp in Ethiopia, in Kenya, and then from then she was able to get to the States. And I grew up with my grandparents back home, and I didn't get to see my mom for about 8 years until she became a citizen, and then I was able to come over to the States and St. Louis. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's an incredible story. Did you guys have like iPads or FaceTime or something that you actually got to see her though?
We did not. So the best we could do was just through a call. Yeah. I wish technology was, it wasn't a long time ago, but still.
Yeah. But still, that's an incredible story. So then when exactly did you come to the US? Was that attending university or is that what drew you here? Outside of your mom, of course.
Yeah, so I came actually when I was 14 in 2017, and I got here. I went to high school in St. Louis, and then for college, when I got the opportunity to go to SLU, I liked St. Louis a lot, and I said I'm gonna stay in St. Louis and go to school here. So.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Well, so I met you through my daughter Sydney, who goes to school with you as well, and you're both entrepreneurship majors, both D1 athletes.
Yeah.
So tell me, was the idea for Moii Coffee born out of your entrepreneurship class, or was it more because your family's in coffee?
Not really. It's to be honest, looking back, it's not because of either.
Okay.
So I've always been entrepreneurial, and I've started a lot of businesses in high school and stuff, and the idea of me having a very competitive advantage because my family have been coffee farmers did not occur to me until after I started. And I also haven't taken any entrepreneurship class at the time. Actually, this year, my junior year, is the first time I'm taking one. But yeah, so I got the idea, and I kind of saw that a lot of people liked Ethiopian coffee, so I figured I would just launch it. So within a week, I started working on it, and then after I launched, I was able to connect the dots and kind of realize, my family been coffee farmers for almost a century. And I'm studying entrepreneurship, and I think one of my favorite quotes is Steve Jobs, and he says is you could only connect the dots looking back, right? Like, you don't know at the present moment why you should do what we don't know why we do what we do. We just looking back, that's when we're able to connect the dots.
So true. That is so true. But that's brilliant, because I sort of just assumed, right, that because of that coffee connection, anyway. So I love that. I love that answer. I love that story. Yeah. So okay. So also knowing the type of commitment that D1 athletes have to have, how did you find time to start a business and then actually find time to run it?
So at the time when I was actually working on starting the business, I had a stress fracture, so I wasn't able to run. I wasn't able to do anything with the team. So I had quite a lot of free time on my hand relative to when I'm competing. That was actually one of the motivation of, okay, I need to find something that I could do because I'm getting bored. And when I launched it, I was free, and then I came back from an injury, and I started competing. That's when I kind of realized, oh, this is actually hard because I have a lot going on. But I'm too deep now. I can't quit, so I'll stick to it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, so that makes sense though, because starting a business takes a lot of time. So you
Exactly.
having that break is sort of, listen, that was a nice gift. But you're right. Once you get back into training and all of that, it's a lot of time from both angles. Okay,
Right.
so do you have any employees, or is it mostly you doing all the work?
It's up to this point. It's been me, and my mom helps out a lot. So my mom does the packaging when I'm roasting, when she's not working, and yeah, she helps out with local deliveries. We have about 80% of our customers are from St. Louis, so we end up driving around and doing deliveries ourselves. So my mom helps out with that. And then besides my mom, it's just been me so far. But we're looking to hire our first, actually, a social media marketing. So by the end of the year, we're looking to find an employee. So we'll see how that works out.
Yeah. Well, you have a lot of perfect candidates right there at St. Louis.
Exactly. That's exactly where I'm looking at too. So.
So, curious, what role has coffee played in your athletic training? Because, of course, we know there's a lot of health benefits from coffee. Just curious if it's played any sort of role in your training.
It did. And that was after I started making coffee. You'd be surprised because I wasn't actually a huge coffee drinker before I started selling coffee and roasting. And a lot of times I had trouble with coffee. So when I have coffee, I either have like a huge crush, or I get headaches, or I just want to go to sleep. I didn't have good relationship with coffee until I started actually making coffee, and I realized, oh, like when I drink my coffee, none of those things happen to me. And then when I go to Panera, or we're traveling and I get a coffee from a hotel kitchen, like I don't feel good, right, physically. So um, consuming our own coffee and like high quality coffee has helped me kind of like not have those negative effects of caffeine, but just enjoy coffee. And then yeah, so when we travel for competition, I bring my pour over, I bring my Chemex, my kettle, I bring Moii Coffee, and then I kind of make it for the team and my coaches. So it's becoming a tradition.
I love that.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. But you're right about quality coffee, right? Like
Yeah.
specialty quality coffee, it makes all the difference. So I also want to give you a shout out to Firaol, because you were selected as Student Entrepreneur of the Year at St. Louis University. So
Yeah. Thank you.
congratulations on
Thank
that.
you. Thank you.
I think that's awesome. Okay, so let's talk about your product. Do you get all of your beans from Ethiopia?
I do. So all of them come from Ethiopia, but not all of them come from my family's farm.
Okay, okay.
We have a farm in two different regions in Ethiopia, which is Harar, one of the best coffees in the world, but not enough coffee is produced in that region because of having low resources available to them. And then the other one of our other farmers in Sidama region, which is actually becoming one of the best coffees in the world. And and then one other coffee we have is Yirge Cafe. That one comes through connection that we have with farmers in that region. So
Okay. Yeah, I saw you have those three. You have three exceptional coffees on your website. So I
thank
think
you.
that's wonderful. And we're lucky enough to have one of those on our U3 Coffee Exchange that we just
Yeah.
added recently. So I'm excited to be able to offer that. So your family's farm also, this is another kudos I want to throw out to you. I saw that your family's farm won the Ethiopian Cup of Excellence in 2021. That's a big deal. So explain what that means to you and your family, and ultimately to Moii roasting that coffee.
Yeah, definitely. That is that is our farm in Sidama region, which is the coffee that I just talked about, and the coffee that we have on U3's website. And in 2021 they were selected as Ethiopian Cup of Excellence winners, and it got one of the highest ratings in ever in Ethiopia. So that was huge to us. At the time, I was 17 and just coming out of college. Didn't mean a lot to me, but now that I'm in the coffee industry and I know a lot about specialty coffee and what grading means and what coffee scores means, like, it's okay. I wish I knew a lot at the time when it actually happened, but it means a lot, yeah.
Yeah. So when you look at your sales, so you mentioned that like 80% of your sales are happening right there locally in St. Louis. So do you have also a lot of sales online too? Because I think I saw that you have shipped to over 40 states in your first year, which is really nice.
Yes, we when I first started, I like setting like crazy goals. I refer to them as like goals that you kind of know you probably want to achieve it, but by trying to achieve it, you would end up achieving a lot more than if you didn't aim for it. So I said I'm gonna ship to all 50 states in our first year, and then we recently got to 40 states. So hopefully, I don't know, we got 9 days till our first anniversary.
Keep going. Keep
Yeah,
going.
who knows? It could happen or it might not, but yeah, 40 states.
40 states is pretty darn good in your first year. So I would, I think that's a great accomplishment. So I also saw that you're now getting into coffee to the corporate world. Like, how did all of that come about?
So that came through worldwide technology, which the founders one of them went to SLU, Jim Kavanaugh, great entrepreneur. And I knew of him. I was connected to him through one of my mentors, Professor Sheets, and they wanted to get my coffee in there. But in order to do that, I had to go through their food service provider. And the intention was at first just to get worldwide technology. And I got in touch with this food service provider called Apex, and they tried my coffee. They liked the story. They loved the product. And then little did I know that it's not only worldwide, but they have so many more clients. So they decided to start with worldwide and then slowly kind of expand and offer it to more of their customers, which is pretty cool.
That's so exciting.
Yeah.
So then are you going to go expand to, wholesale and big box retail and all of those things ultimately down the road?
Not sure about big box retail, but definitely wholesale, and we want to get hopefully into stores like Whole Foods and Deerbergs and local stores like Straub's, high quality, high end product stores, and then use that as kind of our retail options, definitely.
Yeah. Well, so what I love, and I want to bring this up because this is I feel like true entrepreneurs look at different opportunities, right? Opportunities all around you. You just need to pay attention and you need to grab it. I feel like this next thing that you're expanding into is a perfect fit based on your background. But so now you're expanding into offering coffee roasters green coffee. So becoming ultimately an importer, if you will. Like, what was the impetus for that? Like, what was that aha moment or that opportunity that sort of arose that you said, you know what, I think I'm going to do that too?
Yes, that was actually when the first 3-4 months after we launched, I needed a local location to carry our product. So I went to a lot of coffee shops and pitched our coffee, and I said, hey, like, let's try it. You're gonna like it. And most of them would try it and they love the coffee, but they would tell me that they won't carry it. And at the beginning, I would just accept it and be like, okay, thanks a lot. But later on, I started asking, why not? You love the products, why not carry it? And most of them started telling me it's because they have their own labels, right? They can't bring on a different brand when they have their own branded coffee. So that was the aha moment when I was like, okay, if that's the case, you roast it, I'll sell you the green beans straight from our family's farm, and learn how to do larger quantity importing. And then so hopefully towards the end of January we should have a lot of green coffee coming in.
Yeah, that is fantastic. So the other question I have, because I think this is an interesting part, so that goes to coffee roasters, right?
Yeah.
What about the end retail customer, like small little lots of green coffee? Like, what I was shocked at coming into this industry is there are some people who really love specialty coffee where they'll roast their own beans like in their oven on a pan, which I would never have thought to do that.
Yes.
But are you thinking of offering green to retail customers in small lots?
Not yet. That might come around in the future, but right now, the only direct to consumer product we have is roasted and packaged coffee. But I'm the same way. I came in and I kind of realized actually a lot of people like to roast their own coffee, and they have their own profiles. They have their own ways of doing it, which is pretty cool and good for the specialty coffee industry and the community. Yeah, hopefully someday we could expand to that.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk about sort of the future and your vision for the company. Talk about your long-term vision, and also, like, do you want to open cafes eventually?
Maybe, but I think our long-term vision is to build a brand that highlights what Ethiopia is, right? That highlights what the Ethiopian coffee is. Ethiopian coffees, there's a lot of uniqueness to it. You could have two coffees from Ethiopia, but they're completely different. There's a lot of range. So we are focusing on just branding a brand that is known for carrying all kinds of Ethiopian coffee, and then for also not only carrying products, but take our customers on the journey with us to Ethiopia through the stories we tell and the products we have and all that. So our long-term vision is share what Ethiopia is with consumers in the U.S. through coffee. So.
Yeah, that's perfect. So there's of course all these legendary, stories about Ethiopia as one of the origins.
Yes.
And it's we weren't here back then,
Yes.
but I think that Ethiopia has the most interesting story around the origin of coffee with the goats. I think it's with the goats, right?
Yeah,
And
that goes. Yeah.
so do you tell that story much, or do you not find yourself really going that far back?
I do. I actually do. But as we're growing, I'm trying to stay away from that story because Caldi's Coffee is a local roasting company. They're big. It was founded in 1996, and that is their whole branding is Caldi's, which was the shepherd in Ethiopia that first discovered coffee through his goats. So I don't want to run into any legal issues. So I'm trying not to use that story as much as I could for marketing or getting getting awareness for my own brand. But it is a really cool story, though.
It is a cool story, and it is part of Ethiopia. It is part of where where you came from. So,
True.
but okay. So we talked about your vision. When you graduate, what is do you see yourself continuing with building this like full time, or are you thinking of adding something else to your repertoire after you graduate? I'm hoping you're saying I'm going to stick with Moii.
Definitely, 100%. I think hopefully everything works out, but the plan is to go full time with Moii and then see where I could take it. But even if something happens and this doesn't work out, I definitely see myself starting something else.
Yeah.
I think I kind of got the taste of entrepreneurship and I like it. I feel like I was born to do this. So I don't see myself doing anything else in the long term, if that makes sense.
Absolutely makes sense.
Yeah.
And technically, you're already a serial entrepreneur at age 20, 21?
Yeah, I'm 20, soon to be 20.
Yeah, not many people can stake that claim for all, okay? So you definitely are unique in that. So so tell us a little bit about some of the other businesses that you had.
Yeah, in high school, so I had, I used to play soccer. I started running after I became a college student, actually. But before that, I played soccer at a high level. So I started a coaching business in my area, and I had about 30 kids during summer, and I had my own coaching. At one point, I hired a couple of other coaches to kind of expand into different areas of St. Louis. I did that until I quit soccer, and then I also had a clothing company that focused on. There's a pattern here, focused on showcasing the uniqueness of Ethiopia through clothing
Yeah.
and through storytelling. But I did that with clothing, and I built up a clothing brand. And my target customers were just Ethiopian people who lived in the U.S. I did that for a while, and I've started a lot of other things that I kind of failed at right away, but always just kept it going. Yeah.
Well, and you always learn something from any one of those, right? So there, each one of them is valuable. What did you learn from, and just pick any one of them, that you have now applied, let's say, to building Moii?
Yeah, I think the biggest one I've learned was from my soccer coaching business. I kind of saw that every time I did well with one of my players, and they improve a lot. It was in a summer, and during next school year or during the next summer, that one parent that I helped out would come back with like 4 or 5 other parents who wanted their kids to be coached without me doing anything. So I sat there and said, okay, as long as I just do well with what I have in front of me, more customers will come, because if I could, deliver a good customer experience and satisfy my current customers, that is like a number one hack to grow. And
Yeah.
I that is one thing I applied to Moii so far, and it has been working like crazy. It's pretty cool to see.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, when you look at word of mouth marketing, it's one of the most powerful kinds of marketing out there, yeah, as long as you're doing a good job, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it really is amazing. So I agree, like focusing on just building a great product,
Yep.
and providing amazing customer service can be all the difference, like that can make all the difference against your competitors too. So,
Exactly.
okay, so I saw that you recently started a weekly figuring it out email filled
Yes.
with entrepreneurial learnings, and I love that you're sharing these learnings with the world. So I think that at a young age you've already attached to some very, very important lessons, and on top of all that, I'm going to give you a compliment here. You're self-aware enough and humble enough to talk about what you're still learning. You don't always see that with young entrepreneurs. Sometimes they're you might see that with older entrepreneurs, which I'm still learning. I'm
Yeah.
I'm much older and have learned a lot, but I'm still learning every day. But this email, I think, just sort of exemplifies who you are and the type of person that you're willing to put yourself out there and share not only your journey but the learnings along the way. So I have a lot to say about this yet, but first I want to know, is this email list something that anyone can access and anyone can sign up for?
Yeah, definitely it is. It's online. The domain is, I think, Firaol Ahmed .substack.com, and I pretty much just talk about what I learn as I try to figure out entrepreneurship, because there is the feedback loop in entrepreneurship is one of the fastest you could ever imagine, right? You're always, if not if not daily, weekly, you're always learning something. So for me to just write it and try to share it is also a way for me to learn more from my mistakes and my success and everything that I'm going through. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think one of my favorite references was about why I write, in quotes, why I write. And because the why behind anything, I think, is super incredibly valuable.
Yeah.
But the quote was, I write because writing about things I think I know well often reveals to me that I don't know it that well.
Yeah.
End of quote, right? And so when did you sort of first encounter that realization? Was it in your schoolwork or in business or in writing this email, or did you see a quote like that somewhere? Like, where did that come from? Because I just thought it was eloquently written.
Yeah, so that actually came from, I started writing before I launched my business. I was always very curious about the startups and successful companies, and there was this podcast called How I Build This on Spotify. And I'll listen to it and I'll just write everything I just hear on the podcast and write how a Nigerian immigrant boy built Calendly into a 300 million company. And I'll just write everything I thought I heard. And I kind of realized, even though I just listened to this podcast 30 minutes ago, when I'm writing, okay, like I've missed out on a couple of spots, or how did this happen? I'm able to kind of realize like the flaws and the gaps that I actually didn't catch on early on. So that's why English isn't my first language. So writing is hard for me. Like in school, English is one of my least favorite subjects. But I figured the only way to get better at it is to just do it more. And that's why I kind of started doing it. And as I do more, I'm getting better at it. And also not only getting better at it, but I'm learning more by doing it, by just writing more. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's fabulous. So then how many other languages do you speak?
I speak 3 other languages.
What are they?
So there's Oromo, which the word Moii comes from, and Amharic, which is also an Ethiopian language, and I also speak Arabic. So.
Oh my gosh, that's so impressive.
Thank you.
I speak English, and I'm embarrassed that that's pretty much all I speak. I have a little bit of South African, like literally 2 lines, and Afrikaans. A little bit of Spanish. That's it.
Oh. And so is the South African, is it Afrikaans?
Afrikaans, yeah.
Afrikaans, yeah. That's a cool language.
My husband told me, he goes, just keep saying, ek is by 'n lief vir jou.
Yeah.
Which is I love you, my spouse, right? that's all I need to tell him.
Love it.
Yeah. So so you mentioned that Moii comes from what is the language it comes from?
Oromo.
Okay, Oromo.
Yeah.
So what does Moii mean?
Moii means conquer, actually, in Oromo.
Love that.
Yeah.
That is how can that name not be taken? That's an awesome name.
I know. It's like when I first was trying to come up with a name, I was looking for a Latin name, and everything is taken in Latin. Everything is taken, and I figured, you know what? Coffee comes from Ethiopia. I'm Ethiopian. Just use Ethiopian language, and that's how I was able to come up with it.
That's perfect. That's perfect. So okay, so I'm gonna reflect a little bit on your classes now at SLU. Like, is there one thing that you've learned in your classes that you were able to sort of immediately apply to while you were building Moii?
Yeah, definitely, and that is an entrepreneurship class that I'm taking right now. Like I told you earlier, I've always kind of been hustling, even in high school, decided to do a lot of stuff, but the main purpose of doing all that is always to earn money and to earn profit, right? That is the same mindset that I came into Moii with. And I was taking this class, and our professor was teaching us, and he said, when you start a company, until you find your product market fit and you have your customers and you know exactly what you need to do, the only purpose of everything you do should be learning. And I kind of realized, okay, I've been doing everything I could to grow this, but I've been looking at it from a different angle, because I looked back on my interaction with customers, my sale to every customer that I could remember, and there isn't a lot that I've learned from them besides just focusing on getting sales. So that was like an aha moment that, okay, like it's okay to focus on sales, but the main focus should be learn from my customers as much as I could, so that I could actually build a company that could thrive not only in the next 2-3 years, but in 2-3 decades. So
and I think that there are companies or startups that miss that
Yeah.
That's one of the most important things is listening to your customers and making yourself accessible and taking that feedback, like having a two-way conversation with them, not just a one-way, not just taking survey information, but literally listening to your customer and having that two-way conversation. So I think that's, you've learned, that's a very, very valuable lesson that any company at any stage, even large companies can learn from that. So mentors. Let me ask you about mentors. Who's had the most impact on you, and who's inspired you? I'm going to say in coffee, or literally just in life.
I think I'm gonna start with my mentors. Professor Sheets here at SLU, he is the director of Entrepreneurship Center, and he's had the most impact on me. I could walk in anytime with any kind of business problems I have and walk out with solutions. Or if not solutions, walk out with a clearer mind on how I'm going to go about this. So he's always been available, and that's one of the good things of having people who've done this around you, is like you could always go to them. And from that, one of the things I learned is like everyone is willing to help. You just gotta ask. So yeah,
so
he's
true.
had the most impact on me for sure.
Yeah. So
And then,
so do you have? You obviously have drive and determination for all. Do you have a life motto that you live by, or just words that you live by?
I do, and it is Moii the day, which is conquer the day. Yeah. And
That's
that actually, the word, when I was creating the name, I looked back on my life and said, what is my value? What is one thing that I value the most? And it is every day is being your best, right? I kind of realized when I got here, at the age of 14, all of a sudden I had all these opportunities that I couldn't have imagined of in Ethiopia, right? I could go to school, I could study whatever I wanted as long as I work for it. But the only thing comes down to when you're in a country like America, where opportunities come to you from left and right, what are you gonna do about it? So like that is when I said, okay, every day as long as I'm waking up in America, I have to just keep on stacking days and just be better every day, whether it's in athletics or school or whatever it is. Just learn something or do something that will make me a better person and put me in a better situation for my future self. So
That's perfect. Just take action, and you've done that in multiple regards, I would say. So, is there one piece of advice you'd give to someone that wants to enter the coffee industry?
Yes, it would be. It's okay not to know a lot. Not a lot of people know everything, right? I thought I knew. I thought I grew up in a family of farmers, and we had a tree of a coffee. We had a coffee tree in our backyard growing up. So I knew like all the process of drying coffee and doing that and picking coffee, and then I started roasting coffee, and I realized I actually don't know anything. And I had to learn from scratch, and that is okay. So I think waiting until you know everything, if there's an opportunity in anything, actually, not only coffee, if you wait, I feel like personally, if you wait until you have all the answers to do it, probably the opportunity is gone already.
Yeah,
So
I agree with you.
yeah,
Yep.
so you don't need to know everything. You actually don't even need to know a lot. Just do it, and then the best way to learn is just by doing it and realizing, oh, I was wrong, or kind of, yeah.
Yeah, Firaol, one of my favorite lines is by Nike, just do it. And a lot of entrepreneurs say, do exactly that. The piece of advice, just do it. Dive in, jump in with both feet. You'll make it work, right? As long as you have the
Exactly.
confidence that you can figure it out, and you have the work ethic to put forth, it'll happen for you. So I think
I agree.
that's awesome. So, okay, so can you share a general coffee industry stat that you find interesting?
Yes, it would be one thing I'm worried about is about. I think I don't have the numbers on this, but by 2050, I saw a stat that kind of gave me a little bit of anxiety, and it's like by 2050, the quality of our coffees will decrease significantly. Also, the quantity of it will decrease significantly because of all that's going on and the climate change and everything. So as someone who's just getting into coffee and like planning to be in it for the next couple of decades, it's like, oh, okay, like this is concerning. But
yeah, it is concerning. I think climate change plays a big role, and also for small farms to be able to help them, maintain and have sustainable farming practices, and help the next generation of farmers want to do that, and allow for them to financially be able to carry on that torch too. So I think, from a number of different angles, that stat is a little frightening, and what it does is it sort of points at all of us and says, okay, what can we do to help the farmers in the end, and to pay attention to climate change, because climate change will affect a lot of different things in a lot of different industries. I totally agree. So along those same lines, but on the other end of the spectrum, share a random fascinating fact that maybe most coffee consumers probably don't know.
This might be controversial, but personally, dark coffee does not taste better.
I'm with you. Actually.
Yeah.
Yes.
So.
Yep. I'm with you. I think that's a good one. So, what would you say is one thing that you wish more coffee consumers knew about coffee farms?
I think I wish more people knew that where their coffee comes from, and kind of feel connected to like these farmers. There's a lot of companies out there doing especially in the specialty industry, that are bringing that kind of bridging the gap between consumers and farmers. But I wish most customers knew a lot about where exactly their coffee comes from.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times there is very unique story behind whether it's the village or the farmer himself or herself. So, yeah.
And now, I'll be honest, that's part of what U3 Coffee hopes to do. U3 Coffee Media, our media side, is help tell those stories and highlight those stories, not only of the coffee entrepreneurs, but also of the farmers, and then in the end customer too. So I love that. Okay, so on that note about U3, I have what I call the U3 top 3. So 3 very quick questions for you, and you can come back with very brief answers. Number 1, your favorite brewing method?
Chemex, pour over.
And for consumption, your coffee drink of choice, like black, latte, hot, cold, maybe a specific origin, which I'm assuming is Ethiopian, and maybe a wash.
Ethiopian, natural, black.
Perfect. And how many cups of coffee do you drink per day?
3.
Okay, perfect. All right, so what I want to do, first of all, I want to thank you so much, Firaol, for sharing your story with us. But I want to give you an opportunity to share where someone can learn more about you, about Moii Coffee, or where they can buy green coffee if they're a coffee roaster.
Definitely. Moii Coffee would be the best place to go, is moiicoffee.com. I have a lot of information about why we got started and how we bring our coffee to the States and everything. And if you're someone who's looking to buy green coffee from our farm, Moii Coffee also would be a good place to connect with us. So, yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Firaol, and seriously, for sharing your amazingly inspiring story, and of course for helping us unite the world through coffee.
Yeah, definitely. Christy, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure talking to you.
You as well. And thanks to you, our followers, for joining us at U3 Coffee. We'll see you next time.